Hello, I am here to announce that I have officially found a Heavy 6 unit. I picked it up this weekend in Somerville, Massachusetts. I was going to get some random carts, and sure enough, the guy, I was talking to him at first, I was like, "You don't happen to have an Atari Junior? It's the small one that was released later." He said, "Yeah, I do." I was getting that out and looking at it, he said, I also have a Heavy Sixer." I was like, "You do?" I was of the impression that probably wouldn't be. It's fairly common that people think they have Heavy Sixers when in fact they have a light sixer. But sure enough, he went to the back room, opened up a box of stuff that hadn't been put on the shelf yet, and brought out this beauty right here. So now I have got the holy grail for my collection. This is Heavy Sixer, as they say. What I'm going to be doing today is showing you a little bit about how I clean it up, restore it, get it working again. I'm going to also be doing some photography that I won't be showing you here, because I want to get some photography of the serial number, the motherboard number, some of the things so that I don't have to open this unit up too much. You know, if you've been watching the Atari video computer stream, you'll know that I'm not afraid to take apart controllers and units and things like that, but this one is particularly valuable, collectible, and rare, and delicate. This one probably dates from early 1978, although we'll find out more when I actually open this thing up. And so I want to get have written down all the information I might need in the future. What kind of motherboard it has. Was it ever serviced? What year was it manufactured? Does it have a channel switch or not? It's not uncommon also that people will have over the years put in a new Atari circuit board in an old unit. Now I don't think that's the case here because of these switches. These are very much Heavy Sixer switches. But just in case, we'll find out a little bit more when I actually get this open, take a look at the motherboard and all that. I also do have one repair I need to do. So, unfortunately, someone over the years at some point decided to take out the RF unit and replace it with a coax here. I will take a close-up picture of it that I'll maybe put up here. But you can see that it really is just a flimsy little piece of wire hanging this thing together. And that's causing distortion on the picture. It really is not the way to do this. I don't know if the original RF unit had gotten torn out and so they replaced it with this, or if they thought they were doing themselves a favor or what. At some point, long term, I'm probably going to snip this off and put on a new RF end on it, but I have to be honest, I've never done that before. So I'm going to have to read up on how to do that. But in the meantime, I do have a spare RF cable. So when I get this unit open, I'm going to put in a new RF cable in there, and that should take care of the problem. The only reason I might want to keep this original cable is when it comes to these Heavy Sixers, provenance and originality of parts means a lot. Has it been serviced? Does it have its original parts? Does it have its original faceplate, switches, RF unit, instructions, power supply? I'll get to that in a second. So by replacing this cord, I am, to the most picky collector like myself, lowering sort of the collectability and the value of this unit a little bit. However, it's better that it plays than not play. So what I'm hoping to do is actually save this RF cable, snip it out, and replace it with a RF end in the future once I actually figure out how to do that. I've never really done that before. But in the meantime, we're going to get this thing going, and I'll show you a little bit about how this unit operates, what makes it different, and all that. I did want to call out this power supply. Look at that. The original 1977-78 power supply came with this thing. That's pretty uncommon. You don't see these too often anymore. Just because, it is about 40 years old at this point, maybe even longer. And so, these kind of things get lost over time. A gray one like this is particularly cool. The other piece that's really neat about this unit is these joysticks. And I'll talk a little bit about that later, but these are what are called C10 joysticks. The original joysticks that came with later versions of Ataris are called C40 joysticks, CX40 and CX10. So what is the difference between a CX10 and a CX40? This one has some mechanical differences that I will actually show you with a second controller that I have taken apart right now. I'm going to be quiet, and I don't know if you can hear this clicking or not. If you hear that clicking, that's a good sign that you have an original CX10. This button sticks out a little bit farther. They have recessed hex shapes on the top, and originally there was probably an Atari hex, little hex plate that fell in there. Those tended to fall off or get worn off, so it's not uncommon to see one like this without. On the inside you'll see that it has mechanical switches, which is what's causing that clicking, as opposed to simple straight contacts to the circuit board, which the later units have. They also had some differences in this rubber, and some other minor differences as well. But these are particularly valuable. Some people really like the clickiness of them, and just the fact that there's a lot less of them. You can also tell that you have a CX10 unit as opposed to a CX40, because on the later units they'll say top. They didn't want people holding them upside down. So normally you would see on a later unit, lets you know which end is up. They didn't have that on the CX10s. So this is a really cool find that I was able to get today, or yesterday actually. Finally then as well, I have a second driving paddle. Paddles are pretty common for Ataris. You'll notice that this one does not come in a pair like all the others do. One big difference is this paddle unit goes all the way around kind of infinitely. The regular paddle units had about a third of a rotation of motion. This one is for driving games like Sprint and Indy 500, where you have a top-down version of a track and you're guiding your car around the tracks. They did have separate driving paddles, not as popular, and therefore a little bit harder to find. I found one last summer, and now I have a second one, so I can actually play multiplayer versions of the few games that take driving paddles. Okay, that's enough for now. I am going to be taking this apart. As you can see, as I explained in an earlier video, we'll be taking the screws off. Once I get the top off, I'm going to see if I need to take these off as well, take the motherboard off, and I'm going to be taking some pictures that I probably won't have on film here of all the kind of circuits and things like that. I may include some of that stuff here. Alright, back in a minute. Alright, so now I have the unit open, and it thankfully does indeed look like we have a legit circuit board of a 6-switch here. Here's of an original heavy 6er. Here's how you can tell. One, these cables here are somewhat different than you would find on a regular heavy 6er, and they are, as you can see, kind of put right into the board there. You can see this is a big giveaway. They actually put a heatsink on the power supply with this thing right here, an external heatsink that you do not find even on the light 6ers. Of course, you've got the kind of brown board rather than the later green boards. And then the final piece that is a giveaway that this is an original heavy 6er circuit board is this piece. This is the RF cable that I've explained before, is basically the cable that goes through the back into your television set. And this one is vertically out. You know, normally they stick up and then you plug them directly into the motherboard. This one, they actually were sideways. And you can also see, of course, that it's wrapped around a little bit differently. So the other piece you can see, unfortunately, is I do have it appears to be some kind of service number here. Well, I can't really tell what kind of service number. It's not as clear as some of the later units in terms of manufacturing date. It says 9936400070. Then the number sign. I don't actually know what that means. That probably is just a service number rather than a manufacture date, which is a little bit of a bummer. I was hoping to be able to determine, based solely on that, what year this was manufactured. Now, On the back of this unit, I still have the thing attached, you can see the big giveaway that this is a heavy sixer. Let's see if I can get that in focus. Doesn't seem to want to focus very well. Anyway, I can put it up on the screen here. It says 47211J. That's the serial number, and the J is alphabetical. They started with, well, I believe A, but you see E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, etc., on these original units. And so if you go to AtariAge.com, this is a lot of what people do to determine the manufacturing date and the approximate date of manufacture is through the serial number here. It does also say manufactured by Atari Incorporated, Sunnyvale, California, as opposed to from Taiwan. So that, of course, is another big giveaway, that this is an actual heavy sixer with an actual heavy six motherboard. As you can see, it has actual dirt on it too. Quite a bit of dirt. I wasn't sure I was going to take this piece off, but I think really this whole thing could use a good de-dusting and cleaning. So I am going to take this off next, give it a good clean, and let it sit for a while so that the rubbing alcohol and stuff that I put on the board doesn't cause problems later. And I will be back in a bit. Alright, so now I've got it all cleaned off, and it's just going to give it a little more time to dry before putting it all together. A couple more hours, but you can see it's a lot cleaner than it was, and man, you can really see how thick this stuff is. The plastic on this has almost a rubbery kind of texture as opposed to a regular plastic. And to clean this all off with a brush, I think it's looking pretty good. You know, as you can see, this has deteriorated, so unfortunately it doesn't have the orange line anymore. I could theoretically repaint that, but I think I probably won't. Leave it as it should be, as it was originally released, rather than try to, you know, update it and potentially not make it as nice as it was. I also do have the circuit board completely cleaned off here as well. I can show you this too. This is all looking pretty good. Got rid of all the dust and crud on it, cleaned this out. Got this ready to be replaced with this cable here. And like I said, you can see underneath as well, I took some pictures of the kind of board it has. I took down the license number and all that sort of thing. It's a C010462 Revision 5 board, which is not entirely uncommon. And as you could see, I don't know if you could see, you can't really see it in this light, but it has a little Atari logo direct on the circuit board saying Atari Innovative Leisure, which is pretty rad. Alright, so next step is to put this thing all together and then get some pics of it. Thanks for watching. Awesome! So as you can see, I've got it all put together. It's all cleaned up, all decrudded, de-dusted, got a new RF switch on it, and if I do say so myself, it's looking extremely cool. Can't wait to plug this thing in, show you how it works. Thanks for watching.